Hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back to the successful second episode of the Lunchtime Stock Market Show. Here with you, Jose Najarro and Neil, or the Couch Investor. Welcome.
What's going on, Neil? Man, two episodes in a row. This is a record for me.
2 episodes in a row. We even sort of started on time this time.
Yeah.
We will get better at this. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, yep. Hello, everybody, to both everybody in my channel and your channel, Neil. Hope everybody had a good day. It seems like the market's pretty green today, right, Neil?
Yeah, compared to yesterday, I think we are much better. Much better today. It seems like we're all wonderful investors today. Yesterday, we're all bad investors. And yeah, it's funny how that goes.
Definitely. Today is the day where we're all super, super smart.
Exactly. So maybe we should maybe start with that, with a couple of inflation numbers that came in. Maybe I can pull it up right here, and then we'll jump into the Intel Micron part of the episode, if that's cool.
Yep, definitely, Neil.
So, ta-da! Like we said, we operate here in $1 million studio. The technology is out of this world.
Of course.
So the consumer price index number came in at it grew 0.4% month over month in December, matching the consensus and slightly accelerating from the 0.3% increase in the previous month, which apparently is good enough. So overall, that translates to a 2.9% year-over-year increase, also in line with expectations, although higher than the November number, which came in at 2.7%. And I mean, to be honest, I found this funny, the reaction, because remember a couple of days ago, unemployment went down, jobs were quite good. I mean, employment is quite full in the United States. And suddenly the market started to panic. And now it seems like we can actually have unemployment coming down, people still stay at their jobs, and the market is doing quite well. Good mix, I would say.
Definitely, Neil. And you know, Neil, to me, honestly, this is a part of the market I don't follow too much. So I always love to hear kind of like other investors' takes of, is this something, Neil? I know it's crucial, right? It definitely moves the stock prices on days like today. But is this something that you consider, Neil, heavily when investing in any type of market?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I always say macro is the last thing that I would look at. For example, can share this as well. We can see now that the 10-year yield in the United States is crashing down, let's call it. It peaked at 4.8 or so. Now we're back to 4.67. Again, last 3 months, if we look at that, it was much lower. It was actually at 3 point, well, on actually, let's zoom out a little bit more, it was at 3.62 back in September. Usually when these things happen, I mean, the risk-free rate goes up. So why would you risk your money if you can get 4.6% with stocks? So stocks become less attractive. But then again, for us, I mean, for most long-term investors, it's true. Your stocks are becoming a bit more expensive because this goes up. But then you have the day, you want to buy good businesses, and that's about it. Macro can move stuff in the short term. Could help you also by adding to good companies because the stock comes down, as we've seen yesterday and last week. Stock goes down. It's not like your company just became worse. Actually, no, the economy is doing quite well, which should help most of our companies. So yeah, macro is not like it's a buy or sell because macro is bad or good.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of money I spend either on Costco or on Target continues to be insane, and I continue to go back.
Yeah, I mean, Costco is an amazing business, but then again, if you're not in the US, I don't know where they operate elsewhere, but you can't really experience that. Whoops, you can't really experience that, but yeah, it's an amazing business, and it's it's not a cheap one. It's not a cheap stock to own. That's something I noticed.
Pretty cool here. Now I have controls. I have some control, Neil. Travis, please tell me Nvidia is going to 200 this year. I mean, I could tell you that, Travis, but I don't know if it's gonna happen or not. But just since you said please, and we're so nicely, Nvidia is going to 200 this year. Okay.
Yeah, you got a promotion here. You got a promotion. You can now control the chat as well. As for the semiconductors, we can actually show that as well today. We can see that almost everything that I follow, I think you follow as well, is green. ASML is down a little bit, but
yeah, Micron's
the big
taking a
gainers,
nice growth. Yeah.
Yeah, fine. It's because we are going to talk about Micron in today's episode. I think that's why. Intel is doing me a favor by being a little bit green today. So that's definitely a good sign.
And I mean, I think, Neil, with Micron, right? Micron is so heavily dependent in consumer electronics. So if you have like good economic data like today, it can kind of be seen as a nice bullish trend that maybe the consumer spending is going to pick back up or it's going to pick up. So at the end of the day, most any type of electronic product that you own uses some form of memory technology. So I wonder if that's kind of creating more of a sentiment towards companies like Micron than maybe some other semiconductor plays out there right now.
Yeah, could be a good point because we've seen it's Micron, ARM, Qualcomm. Those are the top three that are up the most, well, more than the others. Consumer-facing ones, let's call them. So yeah, could be a good one. Or finally, maybe the market is realizing that Micron is going to play quite a huge part in this whole AI wave, and we're not going to go into short cycles anymore.
Definitely, Neil. So I know we have a lot of topics to cover today. I don't know which one you want to jump into first, Neil.
We can maybe continue with Micron and then touch on the Intel part, and then we'll do a Q&A longer than yesterday. I think that would be good.
Yeah, definitely. So did you recently purchase Micron, Neil, or you've had it for some time?
No, so I think it was my first purchase of 2025. It's been on the watch list for quite a while. Actually, I mean, I've known about Micron for a long time. I've known it when it was very, very cheap. I've seen when it was at $150 or so. People were talking about it. But no, I initiated a position, not so long ago at under 90. Thank God, because that was after the earnings report. Since we talk about companies with the full, we have to wait some time before we buy. In this case, it did help me out because I got in at a better price. But I've said in previous video, I think under 100, especially if you got it under 90, I think it's going to be quite an amazing pick for the years and years to come. Now, it's true that there is still some part of the business that is cyclical, but I think that HBM will just become such a huge part of their business that the cyclicality of the rest is not going to hurt them that much. Plus, they're investing a lot, right? They're investing in new factories and stuff like that. It's also a big US play. So yeah, that's basically why I opened. It was also pretty cheap pricing wise. The PE just didn't make any sense. It's 13 times 4 PE, which, I mean, for a company that's expected to grow as quickly as Micron, it was just, in my opinion, one of those no-brainer buys.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I wish I would have purchased. I definitely do enjoy it under that $100 price point. I am bullish in the overall company for it as well. I think it's going to benefit dramatically from HBM. I think we touched it a little bit yesterday, how this HBM market is creating somewhat of a moat um, in the overall memory space, a market that tends to be very, very cyclical. I think HBM can help a little bit. It's not going to eliminate that cyclicality, but I do think it's going to improve. And let me just shout out Ariel here. He mentions that I need a shave, and that is true. But to be honest, Neil, I'm down in Florida. I usually only time I shave is when I get my haircut, and my barber's not here, and I'm not letting anybody else touch my hair.
Yeah, that's
so for the
fair enough.
Next few weeks, I'm going to be wolfing.
Yeah, imagine you go to another barber and then the stock market crashes, and they're like, that's on you. That's on you.
If my barber goes away for like 3 months, I don't get a haircut for 3 months.
Then we'll have to talk to the wife.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, Neil, we have TSMC earnings coming up this week. I think that's probably going to be one of my favorite things for this week's earnings. As a Micron investor, is there anything you're really excited about, or anything you're going to be keeping an eye out? Are you even going to watch those earnings for TSMC?
Yeah, for sure. TSMC, ASML, I think those are the first semiconductors to report. Plus, with TSMC, we already got some numbers, I think last week. And I mean, they continue to crush it, right? They continue to show that the momentum is still there. They're still growing. And of course, since they are one of the first big semiconductor players to report, it's always a good indication of what will happen with the others, with AMD, with Intel, for example. Previously, Intel not that much because they have not been using TSMC that much before. Now the reliance on TSMC has improved. So yeah, definitely if TSMC report great numbers, good guidance, I'm pretty sure the rest of the semiconductor.
Yeah, definitely, Neil. I mean, no surprise, NVIDIA is a big position in my overall portfolio. And one of the things I really do enjoy about TSMC, Neil, is their management. I think management kind of just says it how it is. They don't sugarcoat anything. I don't know if it's a culture thing, if it's just management in general, but I think TSMC would definitely let us know how the AI market is going, how the consumer market is going. And it's also important to remember that while TSMC gives us those monthly revenue numbers, we really care about that guidance, right? What do they see for the upcoming quarters? And other thing to remember is while these chips are being manufactured at TSMC now, it doesn't mean that they come out as a finished product just yet. They still need to be fully packaged into a PC, into a phone or whatever. So it could be an early indication that the consumer market might be picking up in the upcoming quarters, and companies are kind of just reestablishing inventory right now, because obviously you need some time to get your full product ready. Another thing, Neil, that got me pretty excited for TSMC is the advanced packaging, which is the biggest kind of bottleneck right now in the AI chip space. They keep talking that they're going to increase capacity. I just want to hear from management, hey, look, what is that going to how is that kind of shifting throughout? Is capacity still growing? Is demand still much higher than supply? What is the current quota there?
Yeah, no, I agree, and especially that last part is demand still greater than supply, because that's what we've been hearing with the other players, right? With Nvidia, with all the others that are saying, look, demand is much bigger than supply. We're going as fast as possible. So let's hear what TSMC has to say. Plus, they might also give us more information with regards to their expansion in the United States. I think that's going to be crucial as well, especially this year. So yeah, that's going to be it's going to be an important one, not the most important one, but definitely a good start of the semiconductor earnings season, which of course we will continue to cover on this show. But yeah, I think it's TSMC
Yeah.
and then ASML, if I remember correctly.
Next, are they doing this week today? This week, Neil, or is that next week?
No, I think it's next week.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I
And Neil,
think it's after Netflix.
no, we have a pretty cool. We have a question here. Canadian mentions would love to get MU Micron around 90. Thoughts? Do you think,
Mm-hmm.
or Canadian also mentioned? I think I missed my chance with Micron. What are your thoughts on the current price of Micron today? Is this if you were to want to add more to Micron, would you be willing to add at these price points?
Yeah, I mean, if you think longer term, the difference between today and yesterday is 5%. Are you going to invest in Micron for 5% gains, or do you think that Micron can go back to all-time highs and much more because the business is supposed to grow to a level that is much bigger than where it was before? Before, maybe, yeah, it's true, at 150, 160 or so previously, could have been overvalued, but I think over the next couple of years, they're just going to generate way more revenue. So buying at 103 or buying in the 90s, okay, if it drops, you can always add more at a lower price. I don't think anyone has missed the boat on Micron just because it's up 5.8%. If it were up 30% in the last couple of days, okay, maybe it's gone up quite quickly. Don't want to chase it, but right now, I mean, it's up 5.9. Maybe tomorrow, the day after that, can be down 3%. Remember, when you're going down 5% and then up 5%, you're still down. So
Yeah, definitely, Neil. And
I think there are some
I
opportunities.
agree with that sentiment there. We have this pretty cool comment here, Neil, from David Knight. Have you guys heard of Nebius Group linked with NVIDIA? They build server stacks, etc. They're doing well for me, up 21%. Neil, I think you might have. Did you do a video on this one recently? I think a few days ago you might have touched about them. I know about a month ago they had some news that came out with NVIDIA. I kind of just did a very top overview, but I'm not too familiar with them. I don't know if you have any more thoughts on them.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I did cover days ago, and I think that's what 40% since, because of course, we are pumping the markets when we talk about specific stocks. But no, Nebius, yeah, it's a very, very interesting company and structure because the team and the business was previously, of course, Russian Yandex, which is basically an equivalent of Google, but for Russia. Completely spin off, sold their assets. It's now based in Amsterdam. The HQ is in Amsterdam, but the team is basically a team that has built a multi-billion-dollar business before, and now they're refocusing on what is Nebius Group, which you might, let's say, compare a little bit to CoreWeave. Plus, they've got some sub-segments of their own business. But yeah, the main, let's say you invest right now not because of their Toloka or the AV AI driving system and stuff like that. We basically invest in the AI cloud segment of the business. It's not the cheapest one out there. It's definitely flew, well, it now may be a bit less, but previously it did fly under the radar. Still no analyst coverage on that. So yeah, very, very interesting. I can understand that people will say, oh, but Russia this, Russia that. I mean, the fact that they did relist themselves on the NASDAQ only after they fully divested from Russia and moved away from that proves enough to me that the ties are. Yeah, was just one of the backers that funded them. Quite a lot of players because, well, you back them and they buy more GPUs, so it makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. When I kind of did that top level overview of them, Neil, I did see that they were correlated to Yandex and or whatever however it's pronounced. So that kind of scared me away a little bit from them. But pretty interesting. I do think right now in the cloud server space, if you're just doing kind of GPU rentals, you are seeing this huge growth in a lot of data centers being built all over the world, a lot of kind of neo cloud companies. I don't believe all of them are going to survive. So I think this is going to be a very interesting market to see as eventually, I believe we have like near 100 data center companies just emerging. I think we're going to only have a few in the next few years. Either consolidate, some lose markets, some get acquired, and so on and so forth. Hey, Neil, I think we're getting a little bit of a lag
Yeah,
here.
no,
Is
I agree. I think the
is
fact over $3 billion in cash, good relationships with Nvidia and the. Is there a lag?
so, Neil?
Is there
I
a
don't know.
lag?
Yeah, so for me, I'm getting a lag here. I don't know if anybody else is getting a lag, but I'm getting some of the lag between when we communicate and when you respond. So just maybe if to fix it for future, I'll just kind of give myself a break before letting you respond real quick.
Yeah. Let me check with the. Interesting.
All right.
Well,
In the meantime, Neil, I'll find a question here that I can discuss real quick. So Ariel mentions Nvidia stock in focus after announcing Quantum Day at GTC 2025. After Jensen Huang said quantum computing is 15 to 20 years away, retail mood is mixed. And I think this is pretty interesting, Ariel. I mean, I think there's NVIDIA is not just getting into quantum computing. They've actually been in quantum computing for a long time. And they're kind of starting off very similar to what's their biggest moat here in AI, in the AI market, is creating this software stack with CUDA. They have CUDA Q, and this is something that they've been discussing since 2021. So I don't believe NVIDIA is just getting started into quantum computing. They've invested in quantum computing for numerous years. They've also done something called hybrid quantum, which is a mixture of a quantum computer with kind of your traditional computer. So Nvidia is already in this space. Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of quantum investors that are not familiar with Nvidia. So when they hear things like this, they kind of see this as, look, this is counter intuitive of what Jensen said a few weeks ago. So I think two things can be true. I think quantum computing in forms of mass revenue opportunity of something being $1 trillion company in the future is still 15 to 20 years away. But you can still work on that progress right now because you're going to want to be part of that revolution when it happens, of that tech revolution when it happens in the far future. So I think NVIDIA is just going to discuss more about quantum computing. There's plenty of videos on their YouTube. Just Google NVIDIA quantum computing. They've discussed it for numerous years already.
exactly. I don't know if maybe the lag is still here. I think it was because one of the VPNs were on, but usually should not happen. But yeah, I've seen a couple of comments with regards to that Quantum Day at GTC as well. People think that Jensen One actually focuses on the stock price for quantum stocks as if he has no other things to do in his busy life.
Any questions you want to talk about here, Neil? And it definitely got fixed now. There's no lag either. It seems things are getting better. But just a quick shout out, Anonymous and if I'm using NVIDIA Broadcast for this, yes, I use NVIDIA Broadcast for all my videos. It does have things like eye contact, like background. So even though sometimes I'm not looking at the camera, it looks like I'm using it. The power of AI.
Yeah, no, it's great, and actually the background itself is much better than all the other apps out there.
So Neil,
Okay,
I
it
mean,
does seem like everybody agrees.
yeah, it seems like lag is done. I don't know if you have questions, Neil, you want to grab, or if you want to jump into your favorite semiconductor stock, Intel, for a second.
Yeah, we can we can talk, of course, about the mighty Intel. I do first want to ask you about the fact that Pat left Intel and what you think about that.
So, Neil, if I'm gonna be honest, I don't own Intel, but I thought Pat was the best CEO for the job. And I'm him leaving, retiring, I think might have been more. I mean, it's all speculations, and you see reports. It seems like more bored. just didn't think that Pat was getting the results done. And I think, there's so much that needs to go for Intel to do right, that it was going to be something that would take multiple years. I mean, we're doing kind of a whole change in architecture to become kind of a leader in that space. They were doing a whole manufacturing space shift as well that was going to take multiple years. So I think the board and maybe investors were just a little bit too impatient, and we're blaming Pat, for everything not going right away. And also, right, you kind of had this AI revolution come out of almost nowhere. And it's like, hey, look, why aren't you in the AI market as well? So it's like, how much can one person really tackle, right? It was just so much. I wish Pat would have stayed. I don't know if Intel would be successful with Pat, but I think the probability of it being successful would have been higher with Pat than with whoever they're gonna go with. So after the CEO left and now they have the co-CEOs, I really kind of stopped following the company because I don't know. I have no faith at the moment until I see who's the new CEO and what they plan on doing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think when he came back in 2021, he laid out a roadmap that was pretty much laughed at by everyone when he said the 5 nodes in 4 years. And it does seem like they're going to achieve that, even though he left already. Plus, everything that has happened in the last 3 years, 3.5 years since he came back, was not his doing, let's say, because he came in, Intel was already years and years behind. NVIDIA, of course, and AMD, especially on the client side of things as well. So he came back and he laid down this roadmap, which was already quite ambitious, all the investments that they are making. It's true that maybe they wanted to do a bit too much in a little amount of time, in short amount of time, especially with Intel Foundry. That's an investment that's going to be, I don't know when they're going to recoup that investment, but if it works out, great, because we know from TSMC that business is extremely lucrative. But the important part is that the client side of things, the non-Intel Foundry, starts actually competing yet again with AMD, because AMD had, I would say, an easy run at Intel because Intel has been basically sleeping at the wheel even before Pat came in. Of course, AMD did a great job. Lisa Su came in just over 10 years ago, completely turned this company around. And I think this year for me as a shareholder is a make or break. If this year I do not see good results coming from Intel, because after all the restructuring, all the changes, all the investments, the big promise that 18A is going to change, let's say, the core of the company. If that doesn't happen, then there is definitely that question of opportunity cost. Of course, right now, if I had bought AMD or, of course, NVIDIA in the last couple of years, or any other company, let's say, I would have been much better than with the position I have with Intel. But I still think that Intel can turn itself around because of the client side of things that's still doing quite okay. I just want to see finally results in 2025.
Yeah. So I think Intel unfortunately needs to pick a side. I think in the perfect scenario, right, Neil? In the perfect scenario, their manufacturing does really well, and they continue to advance on all these nodes. They get great yields, because then that means their client side, they will be able to use that asset, right? They'll be able to kind of use that improvements on yields and pay less for chips being made, opposed to how they're doing with TSMC at the moment. But I think they need a pick if they and I think management did that with Pat. It seemed weird, but I think he did the right thing of at the moment go with TSMC. Make chips with TSMC, as TSMC has the best manufacturing capabilities and will allow you to compete your client side with AMD. Eventually you're either gonna want to stick with them or wait until the manufacturing side improves until you can make that switch over. But it for Intel, it has to either pick where they're going to become either a fabless or they have to wait patiently and invest a lot of money in the manufacturing side and then move over to their manufacturing nodes. So pretty interesting. And I don't know if I would prefer. I think I actually might prefer, now that I think about it, Intel as two different companies, as a design company and then as a fab company, because as a design company, it can definitely benefit if it just goes to TSMC and not have to worry about Intel, and then the manufacturing can just continue to innovate. Unfortunately, then that would put the manufacturing side at a huge cash flow loss, because their cash flow machine is their design business, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think it won't happen because of the money that they got from the government. I don't even think they're allowed to do it. I think they still have to own the majority of it. Um, could could they sell shares, let's say, and some other companies become co-partners with of Intel Foundry? That could happen. Of course, if there is a spin-off, I think that the non-foundry side of Intel is worth way more than just the $19 per share that we're at right now. If you look price to book, it's priced as if it goes bankrupt, which again doesn't make much sense. But yeah, they like you said, the fact that they finally said, okay, we're going to go with TSMC, because at the end of the day, these are companies that if you don't sell a great product, no matter what you say, it's not going to work. People are buying products. If it's crap, it's crap. You're not going to do well in the next generations either, because people are saying, oh, I bought this laptop, I bought this PC and this and that, and it's not as good as the competitor, even though they promised us, we've seen the benchmark numbers, blah, 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 it's better. No, produce good products, people will come and buy. And especially, I've said this, I'm sure you as well, you've seen the comments as well, with the AI PC, right? We've been hearing AI this, AI that, AI applications. People right now don't care. What they want is good performance, good price, and all the rest. If there are great apps, they will come and they will try them out. But all of this, oh, AI PC this, AI PC that, Copilot, most of the folks don't really care. Most of the folks are just looking at the next good product at a good price. That's it.
Definitely new. You know what's a wild theory that I have that's happening in some, maybe not in this universe, but in some alternate universe, right? In some alternate universe, I see a world where it's not it's not a crazy story where you hear rumors of OpenAI wanting to buy a company like Intel. I think now OpenAI is kind of worth nearly Intel, right? So I know you've heard those crazy stories of Sam Altman wanting to buy a manufacturing plant, of building manufacturing capabilities. I always find it funny, and I wouldn't put it outside of a bingo card where in the far future or in some alternate world you hear of there are talks about OpenAI wanting to buy Intel's manufacturing business. And yeah, that's something that I just find pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, buy it, fully buy it. I don't think so. I mean, let's be honest. OpenAI is burning billions of dollars in cash right now, so I don't even think that's a possibility. But being a partner, I mean, why not? Why not? Right? One of those things. I don't see why not. I do want to touch on this. Um, Biden wanted Intel to win, but I'm not sure Trump will support it in the same manner. I think it's in the best interest of any president that Intel is a success. Um, it's a matter of national security. They say Intel is still huge. I mean, despite the stock being down, revenue-wise, Intel's importance globally is still extremely big. When it comes to CPU shipments, they are still by far one of the biggest, if not the biggest out there. So I don't think it's Trump or Biden or whatever. I don't think that will change. I think they would want an American company to be a success, and especially one like Intel.
Yeah, definitely. I think just the money that they're getting from Intel creates some form of at least level ground, not level ground, but at least some protection, in my opinion, at the moment. But even though I'm not a shareholder, maybe we can move on to a next topic, Neil. Even though I'm not a shareholder, I was more bullish on Intel's success with Pat than I am right now.
Okay, no, fair enough. Yeah, because right now, let's be honest, a co-CEO strategy means there is no real
Mhm.
CEO, right? Until a real one gets announced, which, to be honest, I don't really know who that could
Mhm.
be.
Definitely. I'm hoping. I think it's gonna be someone external. So definitely gonna see that. Let's see, Neil. If you have any questions that might have popped up on your side. that we
Um,
can tackle before? Oh, I see one that I wouldn't mind sharing. And
mhm.
maybe we can both share some thoughts on this one. Neil, damn it, I missed it. Do. So if you have one, mhm.
Um, there is one, but it's not really about Intel or Micron.
Same. All right. So the one I have is in it for the long run, Neil. Here, Jose Najarro would love to hear your thoughts on ARM. Do you have
Mm.
do they have a moat? And I think later on he asks if it's a great time to dollar cost average. Just in it for the long run. Probably not what you're going to like to hear. I'm not a fan of ARM in its valuation. I think valuation of ARM is pretty expensive. Obviously, some people would say that, hey, look, valuation is just one of the stories. What are the other stories? I mean, it definitely has a moat. I mean, ARM architecture is growing dramatically. Right, every big tech player developing a CPU is ARM based. You know, I mean, we have Google have their Cobalt that they announced about a year ago. Not Cobalt, I think that's Microsoft. I think Google was something else. I mean, regardless, Google developing their own CPU ARM based, Microsoft developing their own CPU ARM based, Amazon Graviton developing their own ARM CPU ARM based. Who else? You have every. I think even Meta might have an ARM-based CPU. All Nvidia, great CPU. All ARM-based technology. The mobile industry also ARM-based technology. If you're going into Internet of Things, most of those companies are using either a Snapdragon or Qualcomm chip. ARM-based. So there's definitely growth opportunity, and I see why companies are bullish in this as they're growing in the data center market, in the automotive markets, in the robotics market, because most of those CPUs are going to be ARM-based. Now, the biggest thing that kind of steps me away from it is valuation, and I think that's probably the biggest risk why I personally wouldn't buy. Any thoughts on your end, Neil?
Yeah, no, same thing. I think we touched on that a little bit yesterday. I think amazing company, hugely important in the semiconductor ecosystem. Just the price to pay right now does not make much sense to me. I think we went with Micron, for example, because it makes more sense. ARM, great company, could have big upside in the future. Just right now, current market cap, if you look at the revenue that they generate, it just doesn't make much sense to me. But then again, we might see suddenly a huge acceleration, even quarter over quarter, like we've seen with Nvidia before they started to jump 80% quarter over quarter. So far, I have not seen it with ARM. That's the problem. So far, I've not seen backlog. I don't know what they exactly reported. Huge jump quarter over quarter, even year over year, despite all the AI interest. So yeah, that's why I'm just looking at it. Good company, just not my pick right now.
Yeah, I agree, Neil. I mean, one of the things right now is we do know the consumer space is still pretty weak, right, Neil? So once the consumer market, I mean, we've seen not much of a increase in PC shipments. We haven't seen much of an increase in phone shipments as well. Those overall refresh cycles are still low. So eventually, when those turn to pick back up, the royalty fees from ARMS can increase dramatically. And AC does mention a good point here that where is it? AC mentions that ARM still has a small number of public shares. We are at the will of major stockholder SoftBank, right? That's also a big thing. If SoftBank ever needs to kind of build up some cash, there's the probability of them selling a lot of kind of just market selling some of those shares, which can kind of trickle down the stock price dramatically. So that's a risk for sure. But I think for me, the long term risk is just the current valuation at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I always forget that SoftBank still has what is it, close to 90%, no? Or maybe now a bit less, but I think that has been the case at the start, and I don't really think they did sell that much. So it's always a risk, always a risk. So remains to be seen. You're muted.
Thank you, Neil. And that's another one, a great point by Greg here, Neil, that ARM has mentioned they're going to raise prices. I think we talked about this yesterday. I think that's a good opportunity for them, right? I think they have the reason, right? No one's got where else are they gonna go? They can't go anywhere outside of ARM. I mean, what's the next risk five? Is the next kind of open source solution out there? and there's not much development there. So ARM increasing prices is definitely a bullish take, but pricing power, revenue growth potential, again, I still think valuation is just still too high for me.
Yeah, and with regards to the increase in prices, it's important to note that that means that the company that use ARM margins could get hit. Same with TSMC. TSMC raises prices. Everybody that uses their services, margins will get hit as well. So it's things that to take into consideration, especially if you're bullish on ARM, but especially if you're bullish on all the other companies that use ARM or TSMC.
Yeah, and I mean that I think that's also a great point to have, Neil. You can have a great company, and a great company is out there. You don't have to invest in every great company. There's always bullish and bearish takes for everything. So again, I don't think we're denying the fact that ARM is a great company, that they have a strong moat. I think we're more kind of denying if it fits our risk to reward tolerant, right? Because I think every investor at the end of the day, they look at that, the risk to reward, and does it meet their overall portfolio suggestion?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Just because there are plenty of great companies out there doesn't mean you have to own them all. Maybe in your portfolio you already have great companies with also some good upside. So just I understand the aspect of, oh, I want to buy something new because it's new and you maybe get, I don't know, a high out of that. Could happen. But at the end of the day, you have to look risk reward wise if it makes sense or if it doesn't.
All right, Neil. I don't know if you want to tackle any questions. I feel like I've been hogging this a little bit, this power you've given me of controlling the chat a little too much. So if you have any questions you want to feel, I'll let you.
I don't know. Do you play the options game sometimes or purely
Uh,
shares
I
stock?
play the option game sometimes, Neil, but it's usually more of selling options opposed to buying. If I was to buy
Hmm.
any options, it's normally it sleeps right very far out, either far both far out the
Yeah.
money and far out in time, that I tend to buy. But usually that is something I would only consider after maybe some time in a heavy bear market. When we're in a nice bullish market, cycles can either continue or not. But I'm more skeptical, or I'm more prone to buying long term leaps in a bearish case than a bullish case. Mm.
Okay, no, makes sense. I honestly, I don't play the options games. I know that selling puts sometimes does make a lot of sense, but yeah, just not my thing at the moment. But definitely a strategy to consider, for sure. I'm looking for. Um, do you know New Holdings and Mercado Libre?
No, I mean I know of Melly, but not it's not one I follow too much, Neil.
Um, this one we did. Other than that, no, I think we covered the Intel acquisition, Intel comeback. I've seen a lot of bearish comments on Intel that I used to say it's too big to fail. I know it's been said about a lot of companies and then they eventually do fail. But I do think that with Intel, it is too big to fail. I just don't see Intel disappearing. It's true, maybe one of the options are that somebody comes and rescues them, although I really don't see who's going to be allowed to do that and who has the money to do that as well. It's still $90 billion in market cap. You'll probably have to pay a premium as well. So, yeah, do you think we can put Intel in the too big to fail
Mm.
category?
Definitely, Neil. I have a question here from Ariel. What do you think about Applied Digital? Is this one you follow, Neil?
No, but isn't that one of the companies Nvidia invested in
Yeah,
last year, I
so I
think?
mean, one thing that happened a lot in this space is a lot of these huge crypto mining companies decided, hey, look, I have all these GPUs that were used for kind of crypto solution. How can I kind of transform this power infrastructure into maybe creating form of AI data centers? So that's where kind of this Applied Digital is falling into. They have infrastructure that's meant for crypto, but any new infrastructure that they're building for AI workloads. I know there's been reports that they have partnerships with some big cloud server provider. They just reported earnings. I personally haven't read the earnings, just yet. They reported earnings yesterday after the market closed. I don't know if you can pull up the chart on Applied Digital right now. I don't know how the stock is doing, but to me, there's definitely a growth opportunity here, Neil, right? But these companies that so many players are doing this, what Applied Digital is doing. At the end of the day, the margins on sometimes GPU rental is not as high as many people think. And this is why certain cloud service providers, right, like Microsoft, they make more money keeping GPUs for their own use cases, right, opposed to renting them out in the cloud space because they have better margins using GPUs for inferencing and sell kind of the open AI workloads opposed to kind of renting out GPUs themselves. So Applied Digital is pretty interesting, definitely a growth opportunity here. But this is one of those high risk, high reward stocks, in my opinion. Definitely seeing a nice trend with the overall market, though.
Yeah, so it does seem like they beat on revenue and then beat on EPS. It did go up a little bit. Well, actually, not just a little bit, but now it did drop 3.16% right now. So close to where it was before the earnings report, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. So one I
There,
like, there's certain stocks, Neil, that I personally don't own, but just like to hear what's going on in the space. And with Applied Digital kind of being in that infrastructure market, I just love to hear what management is discussing, right? Because sometimes they're not as media trained as maybe some other CEOs, so they can do some form of slip
Mhm.
up of actually telling us what's going on in the market. So these Applied Digital and companies like these are ones that I don't necessarily use as investments, but more as information gathering, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, especially since you just said that they did do a major pivot. So it's always interesting to hear how that develops. Do you want to touch on this question right now?
Yep, definitely.
Because I think both of us did become an Uber shareholder not so long ago. We're probably going to do a specific, maybe Uber and something else episode, maybe more autonomous vehicles and stuff like that. But yeah, both of us did become Uber shareholders not so long ago. I bought it because the stock got hit. The company is still doing quite well. Revenue is going up, free cash flow is going up, profits going up. It operates in 70 countries around the globe. Yes, there is still a risk, of course, in the long-term future. If they do not have a good strategy with regards to autonomous vehicles, then yes, it could destroy their business, let's say. I don't think that's going to happen. I think management is smart enough to think about a strategy, and I think the strategy right now with partnering up with various autonomous players is definitely the good move. They've got investments in plenty of autonomous players as well. So if autonomy does become a huge thing, a mainstream thing, their investments are going to work out. I also don't think, as someone that has Tesla as their number one position, I don't think it's a one player will take it all market. So yeah, so long as the business continues to do well, which I still expect it to do for quite a long time, I just found it ridiculous that the stock went down so much. So we started a position.
Yeah, definitely, Neil. And for me, I think the reason I ended up buying this is I think AI could be a revolutionary place for this. And I think whenever one thinks of AI and Uber, the first thing that goes into mind is these autonomous driving, right? I don't think that's where I'm looking at it. Well, I know that's not where I'm looking at it in my overall bullish thesis for Uber. In AI, very similar to how we see it in the advertisement market, right, Neil? In the advertisement market, AI has been used to improve efficiencies, to reduce the cost, and kind of increase the ability of an ad hitting the right person, right? And as GPUs continue to grow, you're able to feed more data to it, either being videos, either being text, either being images, very similar to what Google and Meta have done, and increase the efficiency of those ads. Now, I think of it in the similar way for Uber, where not necessarily for the ad market, which they are kind of entering it within their own app, but more the efficiencies of the core products that they provide. If, for example, they have more information, if they have more implementations of AI, the drivers would have better, they can improve maybe the ride times maybe partner the right driver um, with the right rider, and they already do that. But I'm pretty sure there's ways that they can improve it even more and more, where you can increase the margins on their overall end results, which can drive better results for the overall stock price. So I think AI is an efficiency that we think has already capped in forms of Uber's core products, but I think they can still kind of maximize margins in there, which can drive better results for the overall company.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, the advertising side of things is already at $1 billion a year. It already has millions and millions of users. They have the distribution. So you as a air, why wouldn't you list your marketplace out there? It would be a for example, Waymo did partner with them. They are seeing some positive rides. Of course, if they did not use Uber, since Uber does have the distribution and the millions of users and also subscribers with Uber One, you've got Uber Eats. I think that the fears are just overblown. And even there was one question here with regards to Tesla. So Tesla could theoretically enter Uber's market, which Tesla is probably going to enter Uber's market, since with robotaxi, that's exactly what's going to happen. But what's stopping Uber from having a robotaxi fleet, right? Elon Musk said it himself. You could have your Tesla basically be like an Airbnb where you rent it out. So what's to stop Uber from having their own fleet? Nothing, literally nothing. And again, they have the distribution. So I just think the fears are overblown here.
And it does seem like we're getting some more comments of again laggy again. So I don't know if maybe the VPN turned back on for you, Neo, just to double check there. Um, but yeah, I mean, I also agree that I mean, look, Neil, I use my Tesla when I'm back home. I use my Tesla on a daily basis, and when I use it, FSD all over. I literally it's right now I'm in Florida, and my biggest complaint is I don't have FSD to kind of take me from point A to point B. It's like, oh man, I have to kind of drive myself here. So Tesla has done really good with their FSD model, but I don't believe they're going to be the only players in the future. I think innovation is going to continue to lead other companies to have some form of autonomous solution. I think first place winner is going to be Tesla, and we see that perfectly right now. But with companies like Nvidia kind of designing their own kind of their AV chip and working with partners like Toyota, it tells me that there is a future where there's going to be competition. Maybe the competition won't show right now, but there will be a future later on.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if you checked by the way, there is definitely an issue with my internet. The speed that I get is over 50% less than what I should get. So there's definitely an issue here. So apologies on that. Should not happen. Should not happen.
Need to
I
get
don't know if
yourself
you
a
see.
Starlink.
To be honest, if it continues like that, I think I will. I think I will, because why not? I don't know if you've seen the announcement with Uber and Nvidia. It's always good to see such announcements, but I do wonder how they'll make it work, because you still need that real life data that your Tesla definitely has. It's great that Nvidia has all these simulations running and all of that. You can run multiple simulations, scenarios, whatnot. But I do wonder how that partnership will work. Do you have any suggestions or ideas?
My question is how important is real life data versus simulation data right now, especially one of the things that Nvidia has pushed with their Omniverse is not only it's a physical, it has it has physical truth to it. Right, it's like it understands that how gravity works, it understands what happens when you crash into something. So maybe back in the day, simulation data wasn't as heavy, and maybe this is a research I could do theoretically a lot more research on to see really the difference between synthesized data and real data. But I think the difference between the two is getting a lot closer. That maybe that moat um, is not, or that difference is not as high as it used to be. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but if I was to guess, I think as technology improves, simulations and this kind of synthesized data becomes closer to real data in the future, if not yet.
Yeah, I would agree and disagree. I would agree that for sure right now we're at a stage where more simulations can be made that are extremely relevant. I still think that real life data is definitely needed because the simulation, again, does not yet know that much, right? It's true, you can run millions of simulations, but it's simulations based on data that you should have gathered or maybe that have been gathered already. But there are so many scenarios that can happen in real life that I think are just so crazy that a simulation still cannot figure that one out. So it's true that the base layer still has to be real life data, but I don't think it has to be as large as previously expected. I think we are reaching stages of AI technology where simulations, you can just run millions of simulations and you will get your edge cases in those simulations the more you try. Um, but again, with going back to the Uber NVIDIA thing, I still wonder how that will work. Will NVIDIA supply Uber drivers with specific autonomous vehicle chips? I mean, how is that going to work?
Yeah, and to be honest, it's funny, right? I own both Nvidia and Uber, and I really wasn't too interested in reading that presentation. I'll definitely do maybe a lot more on that reading. But to be honest, it's one that I kind of glossed over because I had just bought Uber, and I didn't want to be like, haha, see, I was right, and kind of just feed into my own bias. Um, yeah, so um,
Do you want to answer this since you have the Tesla?
when does FSD without supervision get launched? How does it cope with low visibility, with dirty cameras, foggy or smoky environment? So I do think those are some of the weaknesses, things that need to get better, right, Neil? I actually, last time I came to Florida for a few months, I used FSD from New Jersey to Florida for most of the ride. And that was about a 16-hour drive. FSD did stop working, and I have, just for disclosure, I have FSD, the new AI4 hardware. So it's the current top of the day hardware out for the Tesla model. When it in roads that got too dark, and in certain highways here, Neil, there's no lights for days, so it could stay dark. It would tell me that low visibility is gonna reduce the ability for my FSD to react. So at those times, I kind of would remove FSD, but in true daylight, it worked perfect. So I mean, I'm not saying FSD is perfect, but it definitely has to cope some issues like dirty cameras, low visibility, and it gives you that warning that, hey, look, right now we're working less, so you got to make sure you're paying attention.
Okay, no, makes sense. I mean, it's a bit like your eyes, no? When it's too dark, you can't really see much. So um,
Very
eyes
true.
or yeah. So and I've also seen some pictures where there are some sides of the Tesla that you don't see too much wetness or ice on it because I don't know the glass is different or it does heat up a little bit, so that side is not covered always, especially on these sides of the car. I've seen some pictures. I don't know if that is correct, but if it is, then it's quite genius to do.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely gives you that warning, Neil, um, of when it has low visibility. And I'm pretty sure it would tell you the same. I mean, when the moment it starts to feel some rain, it lets me know, hey, look, low visibility FSD is not going to be as great.
Yeah, and to be honest, if they want to go out of FSD beta, it has to change because you're not going to be at the front. You're going to sit at the back, just like with the Waymos. So it's going to be interesting when that switch happens. Because yeah, as of now, it's true that Waymo, yes, geo fence and all of that, but you're at the back, and that's what's supposed to happen with Tesla's one FSD ride, one from a restaurant to the hotel was pretty cool. To be honest, was pretty cool.
Yeah, and again, I think maybe we can end with this one. This has I used to be very hesitant of FSD, but as I don't know if I'm just getting more used to it or the improvements have just been so much higher that obviously I still focus a lot on the road, but I intervene a
Hmm.
lot less. So those kind of reports showcasing that the new FSD 13 have decreased um, interventions a lot more. I can personally say yes. I've seen it from personal experience.
Okay, no, that's great. Great point to end. Apologies for the lag. This should be fixed by next week's stream. Again, it's going to be Tuesday and
Yeah.
Thursday, 12 p.m.
Yeah.
Eastern,
Neil, I don't know
unless something changes.
if you have like
Hopefully not.
maybe 5 minutes.
It's 1 hour.
Oh,
So for those of you that are missing it,
yeah. I was gonna say if maybe we want to end with a quick rapid fire, if maybe viewers from both our channels just want to give us quick questions that we might have not
yeah,
covered.
sure.
So for the next 5 minutes, let's just see if we can, if anybody asks questions, and we can do some rapid um, fire answers. So let's see if anything comes in. Mhm. I'm not getting anything, so maybe nobody has any questions. Maybe we answered everything out here, Neil.
Maybe this one for you.
We thinking if TSMC has good earnings, we moon. I think I don't know if TSMC moons. I know the semiconductor market would probably do really good. So not semi TSMC specific. I think if we get some good results on guidance, the semiconductor space is going to see some great price movements.
All right. AMD we covered yesterday. For those of you
Yeah,
that are new here, we're definitely going to cover the earnings report and maybe do even a recap before they report earnings as
yeah.
well.
Neil, Tom Brady wants to know small caps that could take off from AI. I only one I tend to follow right now, Neil, is RXRX, which is Nvidia investment. They focus in the biotech market and drug discovery. This is one of those high risk, high rewards, very small position in my overall portfolio. So not something I would ever make more than 1 or 2%.
That's recursion, right?
Yep, recursion.
Yeah. Small caps that could. Oh, I don't have anyone at the top of my mind right now, so I'd rather not say anything.
All right, let's see. Greg here has Neil. Are you using AI to fetch stock news? If so, what method do you use? Greg, personally, I don't. I tend to have kind of article places that I go on a daily basis that I think I have optimized pretty well. But now, Neil, I don't know if you saw ChatGPT has task, and I think with these tasks, we can actually tell ChatGPT to, hey, look, at 9:30 a.m. every morning, give me some of the top semiconductor news. So that's something I'm going to start off I'm going to start using in the future, but nothing I'm using right now.
And I didn't know that. That's a pretty cool feature. Now I only use AI to maybe to summarize stuff, calculate stuff on Grok. I basically plug in a PDF file. If it's an earnings report, it basically goes through all of it much easier. But don't really use AI to fetch stock news just yet. But the ChatGPT feature you just mentioned should put it in Gemini because that's what I use. I have to support my own holdings.
Another one here from PA Air Thoughts. So Air just reported earnings. Neil, I think we talked about it yesterday. Air is a company
Yep.
that focuses on providing equipment for the chips used in automotive market. The automotive market is weak. That's going to continue to drive maybe some negative sentiments towards Air, but Air does have the tailwind of, hey, look, automotive picking back up eventually, and then some other industries like robotics and AI servers. So there's some discussions there and some nice bullish tailwinds for patient investors.
We have I have nothing to add to that, but we have a $10 super chat for you, so you can get a nice haircut whenever you you go back. Um,
Yep,
UiPath, do you
definitely.
UiPath is an interesting one. Do you follow that company?
I mean, I used to cover it back then, but I've kind of not really seen anything recently. I'm surprised they haven't benefited too much from AI agents, right? Neil, I thought that was like
Hmm.
their overall um overall kind of bullish thesis.
Yeah, I agree, and that's maybe That's maybe the bearish thesis as well, that the moat disappeared because of that. I still think they can become an acquisition target, especially if they stay so low. But it's an interesting. I haven't looked at it in quite a while, to be honest.
Then Skittles, do you like GitLab? I've asked a lot of my software engineers, Neil, what they thought about GitLab, and they say is instrumental to what they do, right? So I asked them actually, if this company disappear, would you be upset? They've told me yes. So I don't know when I would want to enter GitLab, but if we do get like a massive sell-off in the software space, I think this is one that I would personally want to add into my portfolio.
Okay. I think I saw that one of those comments under a video as well, but to be honest, I've never looked at it. Let's see if we got the last one here. No,
I have
maybe
one more, Neil. If any, oh, go ahead. Yep.
this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think of Applied Materials? Joseph Carson mentioned it yesterday. Again, we did touch a little bit on these types of companies yesterday. I think they are priced pretty good, pretty attractive. Lam Research and all of that as well. So I haven't watched Joseph's video, but definitely on the watch list for sure. I like the company. I like the stock as well.
Yeah, I enjoy the semiconductor equipment space. Neil, I mentioned it yesterday. Two that I personally wouldn't buy or don't buy in the mega cap though are ASML and Applied Materials. Not for anything too bearish reasons. I just don't know why my appetite for them don't really seem that high. I like Lam Research a lot.
Yeah, same here. If I had to go with one, it's probably Lam.
All right.
All right. When will Couch get a couch?
That's
a good question.
Hilarious. Yeah.
When will Couch get a couch? I think I did promise once that when I reach 100,000, there is going to be a couch live stream, a real couch live stream. So hopefully not too far into the future.
Hopefully this year, then 2025.
Yeah,
Neil.
for sure.
All right. I think we're good then, Neil, man. I think this was fun. I appreciate the support from everybody on my channel and your channel, Neil. I think this overall comment section helped the stream go so quickly. I mean, it's over an hour already, and it feels like we just started.
Yeah, no, for sure. Hopefully we'll have a better connection next time. I'll send my provider an angry email and we'll get that fixed to you. So yeah, we'll see you next Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for joining.